All right, it's the Pete Sousa Show. Welcome back. Tuesday, coming up on Thanksgiving. Very excited for Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays, because it has to do with football and sports. And that's always been my memory of Thanksgiving. So I'm pumped about that. We're brought to you by Slovacics, Crawford Austin Properties. D1, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers will put the mug front and center. And let's talk sports. Earlier today, I taped that show Inside the 12. And we had your buddy on, Shahan Jayaraja.
Yeah, he's great.
Awesome. But he came on and he was like a minute or two late. And he was like, he works for CBS. And he said, hey, I'm sorry, it's been a crazy day. Mack Brown just got fired. And I didn't know that Mack Brown had gotten fired. So I found that to be very interesting news. I almost wanted to lead this show like Drake told, like, why Mack Brown is the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Coming up next on Locked On. Like that's always, but Mack Brown, an amazing coach. I would imagine this is the end of the road for him. Hey, won a championship at Texas. There's really not much more you can say. Did amazing things for North Carolina's football program, and then brought him back to respectability for a minute or two when he came back to North Carolina, but it's time for him to go. And I mean, not according to me, according to the school. So this is interesting. He's going to coach his last game against NC State on Saturday. And then he's done. Who will be the next coach of North Carolina? In my opinion, this is so far the most exciting job to come available in the coaching carousel that starts to turn during the college football offseason. Couple schools of thought. Did they come to an agreement with Mack Brown? Right. Hey, let's let him go. We want to get started on our search before anyone else. I mean, this is now purely speculative. But he ends his tenure 44-32 at North Carolina since 2019. But he really never could make the next step. His second stint at the program, he was there from 88 to 97. And of course, won the title with Texas in 2015 or 2005, and then ended his tenure in 2013. One of the best Texas football teams of all time, which is saying something. What do you got on that, Scotty Swingler?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to appreciate what Mack Brown did at Texas, just look at the coaches who followed him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and how long it took them finally now with Sark, they're up at that upper echelon again, but it took a decade for them to
Was
get
it
back
Charlie
there.
Strong, then Tom Herman?
Yes.
And then Sark.
Okay. Yeah. But Charlie Strong and Tom Herman, both at the time when they were hired, these are great hires. Look at what they've done. And you just, like, you think with that program and those resources, anybody who's decent could step in there and win. But Mack, I mean, I think it speaks to how good Mack really was for so long.
What has been the issue with Texas and consistency? This is a program that has more tools, I would say, than Alabama. But they've never found the same footing and success. Maybe it's because there's more going on football-wise in the state of Texas, and there's more, people going after the same recruits.
And add to that after Mack got fired for a decade, they were still in the Big 12, which is viewed as not as deep or as top of a conference as the SEC. And they couldn't win the Big 12. I mean, you had Oklahoma winning a ton of titles with some Baylor and TCU sprinkled in, I think the living here we're in Texas where we are, there's this perception of UT that they almost just assume they're powerful and haven't had to work for it. I think there was almost a thought, especially like 8 years ago when Baylor was still in contention for that top spot. Like, there was a arrogance that comes with wearing the burnt orange, right? Yeah. Like this assumption of right. Like we are kings of the state and you weren't earning it on the football field.
Yeah.
I think I've been surprised that I think their jump to the SEC has motivated them to work for it again and elevate. And obviously Sark's been a huge part of that turnaround, but I don't know. I just think it speaks very highly to Mack Brown. And if you talk to anybody who's played for Mack Brown, they talk relentlessly about him as just this wonderful motivator, wonderful players coach, but also, like, Dude, he was a consistent winner at Texas. It wasn't just 2005.
No.
I mean, they were a top 5 program.
When he
of
got
his
let go,
tenure.
it was kind of like, really? Like, it was sort of a surprise.
Well,
Okay.
he had a couple of down years there,
Yeah.
but I mean, honestly, he had a couple of down years because he had the wrong quarterback. I mean, they kind of struggled there. They went with Case McCoy for a season.
Yeah.
David Ash was not what he was projected to be, and he was Mack Brown was let go. But I mean, they were a top 5 program for a good 10 years.
He was 206 and 158, right, at Texas. Charlie Strong was 37 and 16. Tom Herman was 50 and 32, and right now Sark is actually 50 and 35. And Sark obviously been amazing so far in this run, especially this year. But yeah, that's a great point. You look at the coaches after. Mack Brown really is an elite level coach, obviously, and before him, right? Fred Akers obviously amazing, but then David McWilliams and also ran in the coaching race, and John Makovic was a coach who sort of overrated out of Illinois and then went to Texas and never lived up to any of the hype. I want to talk about who now could replace Mack Brown. This is according to some of the rumors and some of the reports online. The top guy to replace Mack Brown, and this is purely speculation, but I think people are just trying to connect the dots and reading some tea leaves here. Matt Campbell has been mentioned over the years in several power conference openings, but he stayed at Iowa State. Now, do you think that just isn't as good a job?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Matt Campbell's had the opportunity to leave for clearly better jobs, and I don't buy that North Carolina, especially right now where we are with the conference structures.
Yeah,
I just don't buy North Carolina as a better job than Iowa State.
But if you're North Carolina, this is an idea of he's probably, is Matt Campbell that we can think of off the top of our head right now, the number one free agent college football coach. He's not a free agent, but a guy who you think you could pry from their program. If you
can get him from Iowa State, that's a great hire.
Yeah,
I think so.
Is that a bad look for the Big 12 that he would go from Iowa State to North Carolina? I mean, it is. Look, I've been there.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Ames is Ames. It's freezing goddamn cold.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say yes and no. I mean, he's been at Iowa State a long time.
Yes.
So you could easily say, he needed the change of scenery. But again, I don't think it's a better job because neither North Carolina nor Iowa State is in a very super secure top conference position at this moment.
Jamie Chadwell at Liberty.
That makes way more sense to me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Dan Mullen, really? Former Florida and Mississippi State head coach. Past 3 years, he's been at ESPN, right? So Barry Odom, the head coach at UNLV.
Yep.
Garrett Riley, offensive coordinator at Clemson. Let's see who else. Some of the other names. John Summerall, that's Tulane's head coach. Now, that's a guy who I think we'll see in the offseason take another job, a bigger job, right?
Yeah, you would think.
He's a guy that's in the mix.
Good coach.
And then I think that's all. Those are Jeff Traylor is a guy that's also in the mix.
Jeff Traylor is always mentioned in these because he's done a very good job. I just don't think there's any way he takes a job outside of the state.
Really?
I'd be shocked. He's a Texas high school guy through and through. I think Traylor is waiting for, one of Baylor, Tech, dare I say, way down the road, A&M or Texas to open up again. I think if he's going to jump, he would prefer to stay in state.
Yeah,
that's even Oklahoma. Even Oklahoma would make more sense for Traylor to me than the North Carolina.
They're 45 and 19. The UTSA is since he took over the program.
Oh, he's a wonderful coach.
Yeah,
but he is a Texas high school football legend, and I think we'll stay.
That's really good intel.
We'll stay nearby.
Do you think a coach like Joey McGuire would almost be neutered if he was outside of Texas recruiting?
Certainly not neutered, but you have the best chance of success recruiting here and establishing your home base here.
Yeah.
It's why McGuire was almost an ingenious hire at Texas Tech. Look at the recruiting classes he's already putting together for them. This is where he has the best chance of success. I think the same is true for Traylor.
Do you feel that Baylor should have hired Joey McGuire?
This is a really odd time to ask me that question. Because 2 months ago, absolutely, I felt that. Yeah. But now, Dave Aranda seems to have kind of figured it out on the field in the last 2 months for Baylor. He seems to have figured it out currently with the recruiting class coming in for Baylor. So I don't think I can just hammer that. But at the time, I felt like it should have been Joey.
Yeah.
And there have certainly been times over the last 2 years I feel like I wish we had Joey. Yeah.
Here's an interesting, for instance, but I guess this, like Dave Aranda, if he were to lose his job, I don't know that he would be a sought-after head coach. I think he would go back to being a coordinator somewhere.
He would be a defensive coordinator for a top 10 team.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. But and I guess, like, let's say after the Sugar Bowl season, like, he probably would have gotten a great job, right? If he had been like, I want to go somewhere else. But he signed a big extension with Baylor. But it's interesting, like, he doesn't quite have, and I don't care about this. I think that, and it goes to show, but especially with the resolve they've showed in their turnaround this year, we're talking about Baylor and Dave Aranda, but he doesn't have the bells and whistles, right? Like, can he invigorate a fan base? I don't know. Yeah.
No, he can't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
I'm not even convinced he can invigorate. Like, okay, and I'm going to sound like I'm throwing, but like there were games, especially early this season, where Baylor came out and looked flat for the first 2 quarters. Like, I'm still trying to convince myself he can motivate a team to get fired up for every game. Like, and again, the last 2 months have been very good, and they have saved his job. He deserves to come back. And I wish him the best. Like, I hope he's super successful in here for a long time. I really do. But yeah, he is not a prototypical head coach. Joey McGuire very much is. Jeff Traylor, same kind of boat, very much. I mean, but I'm a Texas high school football fan through and through too. So those success stories of the Texas high school football coach that are succeeding at power,
it's a lot of fun.
Programs is great.
It's so interesting. As a guy from the Northeast, like, that never happened. Like, we talked about it when Jerry Faust died a little bit ago. Like, that was, he went from Massillon High School in Ohio to now all of a sudden he's the coach of Notre Dame. Like, that didn't happen.
I mean, that was our Brile story at Baylor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the other news this morning, much less notable than Mack Brown, but Houston fired their offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
Elevated Sean Bell.
Yeah. Former
came
Baylor
out of
guy.
Texas high school football like that. He was a head coach, at Magnolia, and then
and he'll stay, and really he'll probably keep that job because Willie Fritz is brand new.
I hope he does.
And I think look, Houston hasn't scored. I think they've scored 14 points the last 2 weeks. They average something like, it's a joke, like 12 points a game, maybe less than that. It's been a rough, and their defense really isn't bad. But Matt, that's very interesting. The Jeff Traylor thing. Look, as much as it sucks to see people lose their jobs, we are at that time of year where the coaching carousel starts to spin, and I wonder if North Carolina kind of ushered Mack Brown off of their carousel to get going on finding another coach. One person we can ask about that is Matt Mosley. I'm going to ask Mosley if Mack Brown's going to be the next coach of the Cowboys, and let's see what he says. Matt Mosley coming up on the eve of a Cowboys Thanksgiving home affair against the New York Giants. Stay with us.
It's the Sousa Show. Sports.